Long before the time of Chapo and Escobar, there was only one queenpin in the world of narcotics, and that was Ms Griselda Blanco. She was dubbed many things, from La Madrina, the Black Widow, the Godmother, and the Cocaine Queen, whatever you may call her, but one thing stands. Griselda Blanco was one of the most brutal drug lords the world had ever seen. Despite her countless aliases, Blanco was a one-of-a-kind woman. Join us as we look at the untold story of the Narco Griselda Blanco, aka the Godmother. Griselda Blanco got her start in the cocaine business in the early 1970s, when Pablo Escobar was still a boy boosting automobiles. But she didn't just create her drug empire overnight. Griselda grew up dirt poor in the Median Mountains during Colombia's brutal civil war, La Violencia. Raised by an abusive mother, Blanco didn't waste any time getting into the life of crime. As the story goes, she first dabbled in crime when she kidnapped a small boy for ransom when she was only 11 years old. But after the boy's parents failed to meet her demands, Griselda killed him. Later in life, she would counterfeit currency by day and work as a prostitute by night. Blanco's association with these men, as well as her short temper and childhood friendship with Pablo Escobar, offered her an advantage. Not that she needed one in the cocaine trade, which was otherwise dominated by men. After this followed a number of unsuccessful marriages, to say the least. Blanco had her first taste of turning crime into a business when she met her soon-to-be first husband, Carlos Trujillo, at the age of 13. Together, Griselda and Carlos would illegally smuggle people to the United States. Despite the fact that the couple had a booming business and 3 sons together, their marriage wouldn't last forever. Blanco eventually had her husband killed in the 1970s. Trujillo was the first of Blanco's many husbands that met a brutal end. This habit of killing her husband would eventually earn her the Black Widow moniker. Griselda Blanco was first introduced to the cocaine trade by her second husband, Alberto Bravo. Together, the couple relocated to Queens, New York in the first half of the 1970s and started their business. The Colombian product soon took off and diverted a significant amount of business away from the Italian mafia. Using her feminine insight, Griselda devised an ingenious way to smuggle drugs to the US. She developed a women's underwear factory in Colombia that made underwear with hidden compartments. She would then have young women smuggle cocaine into the United States as passengers on commercial airlines. Bravo returned to Colombia to restructure the export end of the business. Meanwhile, Blanco handled things in New York. However, things took a turn for the worse in 1975. Blanco and Bravo were busted by a joint NYPD and DEA sting called Operation Banshee. But Blanco managed to flee to Colombia before being charged. She allegedly killed Bravo in a shootout over unpaid money. The story goes that Blanco took a pistol from her boots and shot Bravo in the face, just as Bravo fired a round from his Uzi into her stomach. On the other hand, some people believe that it was actually Pablo Escobar that killed Alberto Bravo. Regardless of which account is legitimate, Griselda Blanco's autopsy would ultimately confirm that she did in fact have a bullet scar on her torso. With Bravo out of the way, their entire drug empire was left to Griselda. She would continue conducting business out of Colombia. She was accused of orchestrating the 1976 plot to transport around 6 kilograms of cocaine from Colombia to Miami aboard the tall ship Gloria, which was sent by the Colombian government to commemorate America's bicentennial in a race to New York Harbor. This would kickstart the Colombian cocaine invasion of Miami, and the subsequent violence that followed. She married her third husband, Dario Sepulveda, in 1978, with whom she had her fourth son, Michael Corleone. Blanco would rule Miami for the years to follow. She soon became queen of cocaine in the city. Business was booming, and Blanco was on top of the world. She was living a luxurious life. She had it all: mansions, fancy cars, and a private jet. Nothing was off limits for La Madrina. But things were about to change. Something dark was brewing deep within the alleys of Miami City. Rival gangs were growing impatient with Blanco's monopoly on the drug trade, and soon enough, a bloody conflict erupted. South Florida would soon turn into a war zone. She demonstrated brazen brutality in order to destroy her competition, plunging the city into a period of violence known as the Cocaine Cowboy Wars. She was accused of ordering a slew of murders, many of which were carried out by gunmen on motorbikes, a method she is credited to have invented. The first bullets were fired in broad daylight on July 11, 1979, at the Crown Liquor Store in the Dadeland shopping mall. Several of Blanco's hitmen killed a rival drug dealer. The hitmen then chased liquor store employees throughout the mall, guns loaded. Fortunately, the workers were only injured. However, too much damage had already been caused. By the early 80s, bodies began piling up in the city, and Griselda had her hands on almost all of them. Miami saw 75 homicides in the first 5 months of 1980, and 169 in the last 7 months. By 1981, Miami had become not only America's murder capita, but also the world's. Most of the city's killings were caused by the cocaine cowboy drug wars, which saw Colombian and Cuban dealers regularly killing each other with submachine guns. However, if it hadn't been for Blanco, this period might not have been as bloody as it was. Her paranoia was at an all-time high. With the DEA right on her tail and rivals closing in, La Madrina was making abrupt decisions. In late 1983, Blanco's third husband, Dario Sepulveda, got caught up in the firing line. Sepulveda kidnapped their son, Michael Corleone, and returned to Colombia with him. But he could not escape the legend of the Black Widow. Griselda had her hitmen dress up as cops and had them gun down her husband, all while her son watched in horror. She may have gotten her son back, but Sepulveda's assassination set off a heated conflict with his brother, Paco. And not before long, several of Blanco's previous allies, including a key supplier, opted to support Paco. With the kidnapping plan going bust and evidence piling up against her, it was almost certain that Blanco would be put on death row. A phone sex scandal involving a crucial witness and secretaries from the Miami-Dade District Attorney's Office, however, threw the case into disarray. As the main witness, Alaya was quickly discredited. And just like that, in a stroke of luck, Blanco narrowly avoided the death penalty. She later agreed to a plea bargain. La Madrina was released and returned to Colombia in 2004. Despite her good fortune, she had already acquired too many enemies to be welcomed back home with open arms. Blanco was murdered in a motorcycle drive-by shooting outside a butcher's shop in Medellin, the same assassination style she had pioneered years previously. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think of the extraordinary life of Griselda Blanco? Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.